Welcome to our first episode in our study of the Book of Mormon. And if this is your first time with us, a really warm welcome to our YouTube channel.
Yeah, welcome.
We're kicking off a pretty massive series here. We're going to be exploring the foundational texts of the Book of Mormon. And today, well, we're starting right at the beginning, 1 Nephi chapter 1.
And this is so much more than just chapter 1. It is the absolute narrative engine for everything that comes next. I mean, if you want to understand why this huge 6th century story even begins, the answer is right here.
So what's our mission today? What are we trying to figure out?
We're looking at the immediate crisis, the terrifying situation that forces this prominent, pretty comfortable family to just liquidate their entire lives and run. They flee into the wilderness basically overnight. This chapter is the catalyst for all of it.
And to really get that crisis, you have to start with the historical setting, the timeline. It explains the intense political pressure everyone was under. The events start at the beginning of the first year of the reign of Zedekiah, king of Judah. So that puts us squarely around 600 BC. And for you listening, that date is it's pivotal. It's not just a random timestamp.
No, not at all. It's basically a countdown clock to total disaster. Zedekiah was the very last king of Judah before the Babylonian captivity.
Right.
His whole reign was just defined by instability, political games between Egypt and Babylon, and just this profound moral decay in Jerusalem. And the sources are really clear that Lehi wasn't, shouting into a void. Verse 4 says, there were many prophets prophesying unto the people that they must repent or the great city Jerusalem must be destroyed.
So the air is already thick with these apocalyptic warnings.
Exactly. Lehi is arriving on the scene when people are already on edge.
So he's not the first voice, but as we'll see, he kind of becomes the most inconvenient one.
Yeah.
But before we get to Lehi's big vision, we have to talk about his son, who's also our narrator, Nephi. He starts the record off by immediately, asserting his credibility. He says, I, Nephi, having been born of goodly parents, therefore I was taught somewhat in all the learning of my father. What does that opening line really tell us about him as a historian?
Well, he's establishing both legal and narrative authority right out of the gate. He's not just saying, oh, I had nice parents. He's making a statement that he comes from a secure, educated family, a background that made sure he was literate and trained in the traditional learning of the Jews.
Okay, so it's a certification of quality. In a way.
It is. It's crucial for a record that's meant to span generations. He's essentially certifying his own source material.
But then he adds this other really fascinating layer. He says he makes his record in a language that consists of the learning of the Jews and the language of the Egyptians. So wait, is he just showing off his scholarship here? Or does this blend of languages mean something deeper?
I think what's so fascinating is the sophistication of it.
Yeah.
It's an assertion of comprehensive record keeping. The Jewish learning, that gives you the spiritual and cultural context. But the Egyptian, and we're likely talking about a form of demotic or hieratic script, that provides the tools for making a durable, concise, maybe more efficient record.
So it's the best of both worlds.
It signals that Nephi and Lehi were perhaps on the intellectual cutting edge of their time. They could draw on multiple knowledge traditions to, secure their own history.
And speaking of Lehi, the man who's about to make this unbelievably radical decision, the text grounds him for us. It says he had dwelt at Jerusalem in all his days. It's such a brief detail, but man, it carries a lot of weight.
It's the anchor point. You need that to understand the sacrifice. Lehi wasn't some itinerant preacher. He was a Jerusalem fixture, established, wealthy, rooted in the capital city, the center of everything.
So he has everything to lose.
Everything. He's not just losing a campsite in the desert. He is forfeiting a multi-generational legacy, his social standing, probably immense physical wealth. It makes his decision to flee not just a journey, but a profound existential choice.
So this established man sees all the turmoil, the decay in his home city, and he goes forth. And it's not just a quick prayer. Verse 5 says he prayed unto the Lord, yea, even with all his heart, in behalf of his people.
That desperation, it really frames the whole experience that follows. He's not praying for himself. He's pleading for the city that's about to turn on him.
And the response he gets is immediate and physically overwhelming.
It is. His experience starts outside in a public kind of setting, and the first thing he sees is this pillar of fire. The verse says, there came a pillar of fire and dwelt upon a rock before him, and he saw and heard much. And because of the things which he saw and heard, he did quake and tremble exceedingly.
Yeah, that's the part that always gets me. It wasn't just, interesting to look at. It was a sensory overload that literally destabilized his body. Imagine the most spectacular, deafening, undeniably supernatural thing you could ever witness. Something that just fries your nervous system. That intense physical reaction tells you this isn't up for interpretation. It's an incontestable, divine encounter.
Absolutely. And the experience is so potent, it forces him back home. He returns, he casts himself on his bed, overcome with the spirit and the things which he had seen.
So he goes from public prayer to this private spiritual crisis.
Exactly. And from there, the experience just explodes into this full cosmological vision.
He sees the heavens open, and he beholds God sitting upon his throne, surrounded with numberless concourses of angels singing and praising their God. I mean, let's just pause on that. This isn't just seeing an angel. This is a full reset of his entire understanding of the universe. How does that change a person?
It creates this unbridgeable gulf between his new reality and the reality of Jerusalem. After you've seen God on the throne, how can you possibly care about the political squabbles of Zedekiah or the daily commerce of the city?
It all seems so small.
The scale of his reality has fundamentally changed. The stakes are no longer local. They're eternal.
And the vision keeps unfolding. It gets more focused. He sees one descending out of the midst of heaven, a figure whose luster was above that of the sun at noonday.
And then there's structure to it. He sees 12 others following him. So you have this clear hierarchy, a divine delegation. And the first figure, who is clearly of supreme importance, stands before Lehi.
And hands him a book, a physical object.
Yes, and bids him to read. This is so important. It takes the experience beyond just passive observation. Lehi is now an active participant. He holds this incredibly dangerous piece of knowledge in his hands.
Dangerous is the right word. Because the content of that book confirms everything he feared. The core message is just. It's brutal. Woe, woe unto Jerusalem, for I have seen thine abominations.
And the predictions are terrifyingly specific. It's not vague. The vision reveals Jerusalem will be destroyed, the inhabitants would perish by the sword, and many should be carried away captive into Babylon.
This is a geopolitical forecast of total societal collapse.
It is. It's the ultimate doomsday scenario.
Okay, but here's where the narrative takes a really surprising turn, and it's so important for you, the listener, to catch this. Lehi reads this awful, life-ending news, and he rejoices. It says he was filled with the Spirit, praising God's power and goodness and mercy. How can he be joyous when he's just read the obituary of his entire civilization?
Because the vision didn't just show him destruction. It also showed him the means of deliverance. His joy isn't about Jerusalem's doom. It's about the fact that God wilt not suffer those who come unto thee that they shall perish. He instantly sees the escape clause.
Okay.
The bad news about the city is tied directly to the good news about his family's potential salvation. He realizes that, at this point, radical obedience is the only rational act.
And that realization immediately lights the fuse for the conflict. He doesn't hesitate. He doesn't sit on it. He went forth among the people and began to prophesy and to declare unto them.
He turns his private revelation into a public demand.
And the public reaction is not good.
It's swift. And you have to remember, Jerusalem had already heard from many prophets, but Lehi's message somehow pushed them over the edge. It says the Jews did mock him.
And he testified of two main things, right? Their wickedness and their abominations, but also the promise of Messiah, and also the redemption of the world.
Yes.
So why the leap from mocking to, deadly intent? He wasn't the first person to call them wicked. What was it about his specific message that made it so toxic that they immediately wanted to kill him?
Well, Lehi wasn't just criticizing their lifestyle. He was demanding immediate radical upheaval. He was demanding flight. And he's doing this during a time of extreme political fragility under Zedekiah.
So proclaiming that Jerusalem was condemned and would fall to Babylon.
It was essentially treason. It undermined the king, the temple hierarchy, the whole national morale. And while testifying of a coming Messiah is hopeful, when you pair it with an immediate threat, it's heard as a condemnation of their current leader's failure.
So his knowledge came with the ultimate price. The text is chilling. The Jews were so angry they sought his life that they might take it away, comparing him to the old prophets who were cast out and stoned and slain. Lehi becomes public enemy number one.
And this is where it really hits home. I mean, imagine you are given absolutely critical, life-saving information that your entire market, your city, your social system will collapse tomorrow. But sharing that information makes you an enemy of the state who gets hunted down.
You had to choose.
Lehi has to choose. Stay silent and die in the catastrophe, or speak the truth and flee to survive.
So if we just synthesize this whole chapter for you, the listener, it moves with the speed of a thriller. We go from Lehi, the established patriarch, to Lehi, the physically trembling visionary.
Lehi, the joyous prophet, and then finally to Lehi, the hunted pariah.
This whole rapid sequence, it justifies and necessitates the central action of the whole Book of Mormon, the immediate life-altering flight into the wilderness.
And that pivot, that action, leads us right to the foundational promise of the entire narrative, which Nephi uses to close the chapter. Despite all the danger, the chaos, Nephi leaves us with this thematic statement. He says, "But behold, I, Nephi, will show unto you that the tender mercies of the Lord are over all those whom he hath chosen, because of their faith, to make them mighty even unto the power of deliverance."
That phrase, the power of deliverance, that's the key, isn't it?
Yeah.
Lehi made a choice rooted in radical obedience to a spiritual truth, despite what it would cost him.
He exchanged immense physical security, wealth, and comfort for a promise of spiritual and familial deliverance.
He gave up everything that mattered in Jerusalem for the only thing that mattered eternally.
Exactly. The chapter is less about the details of the coming destruction and more about the radical, immediate action that Revelation requires. It establishes that this journey they're about to take isn't optional. It is the only path to survival. They went from being society fixtures to hunted wanderers, and it all happened because of a few hours of an overwhelming spiritual experience.
A complete life transformation.
Yeah.
And I think that brings us to our final thought for you to carry forward with you. We established there were many prophets warning Jerusalem, yet they only truly raged against Lehi when his specific warning and his demand for action threatened their comfort and require this huge existential change.
Oh.
What does it take for a powerful community to ignore not just one, but many urgent, life-saving warnings before a catastrophe strikes?
And maybe to make it more personal in your own life, how much undeniable critical information does it take to compel you to radical, life-altering action? Especially when that action is completely counter to your comfort, your security, and the expectations of everyone around you. That's the choice Lehi made, and it sets the stage for everything that comes next.